there are some ways we can analyze a histogram once we have it, or if we have the table related to the histogram. For example, if we asked, let's say $30,000 a year is sort of a poverty cutoff, we might ask what percent of households make less than that. So we'd say, well, here's the $0 to $10,000 bar, here's 10 to 20, here's 20 to 30. So what percent of households are in that range? We could even go draw ourselves a little line just to remind ourselves what kind of range we're talking about. Right there. So how many households have an income lower than that cutoff? So we could say, well, here's about 7% plus another 11.5% plus another almost 11.5%. So we could add those up. They're right here. So you could add them in your head. In the homework, we don't have those very precisely. You can just kind of eyeball the numbers. And in the homework, the multiple choice options, you're not going to have to choose between two numbers that are very close. Whatever number you eyeball should be kind of one of the multiple choice options, and all the others should be pretty far away. Here, just by highlighting these three, Excel gives us the sum of it down here, which is about 30. Or we could say, what's the sum so far? So just start with the 7% and then say on this row, how many people are they make less than $20,000 a year, how many households? So that would be the 7% plus the 11.5%. And then if I fill that down, then here I've got the previous value, which was the 7 plus the 11.5, plus another 11.4. So altogether I get 29.9, which is basically what Excel was giving me with the 30, although that was a little rounded. And it also depends on exactly how you eyeball the numbers, which isn't all that important. So what percent of households make under $30,000 a year? It would be this number right here. Let's even highlight that as our answer. You might have heard people talking about the top 1% of households, or the top 1% of earners. Where do they start on this graph? And we might say, well, here's 1%. So let me follow that over. So it looks like this bar is a little above 1%, that bar is a little below 1%. So can we say the 1% starts around there? Well, it turns out that's not the way we need to think about it, because this bar and that bar are close to 1%, but the top 1% would be everyone who makes bigger than some cutoff, so that all those people add up to 1%. And if I look at this bar, which isn't quite 1%, and then this bar, which is also not quite 1%, together they add up to more than 1% though. And so that wouldn't be the top 1% overall. If I look at the sum so far, you can see that even up to $190,000 or $200,000 a year, we still haven't captured the bottom 95%, so the top 1% would be a lot higher than that. So we can say here, it's not just where the bar ends up being 1% tall. We need a much higher income than that to be in the top 1%. You could say right around here, since that number is basically 90%, you could say that's where the top 10% starts. That's one way of thinking about it. So we don't even have on this data table where the top 1% starts. Then we can also ask, where is the median? What income number has half of the population below it and half above? For that, I need to look at the sum so far. So this is telling us that at $50,000 a year, 49.4% of the population is below that, which is almost 50. If we get up to a top of $60,000 a year, that's 57%, which is more than 50. So the median is going to be between 50 and 60. And we can't really say with any much more precision than that, just based on these numbers. I mean, 49 is closer to 50 than 57 is, so the median is going to be closer to $50,000 a year than $60,000 a year. But here we could say the median is between 50K and 60K a year, since that's where the sum so far goes from below 50% to above 50%. In the homework, when it asks you what's the median, you don't have to give it with any much more precision than what we're doing here.